process.
Due process.
Due process.
Due process is the right every citizen has to a fair trial according to Amendment 5. It warns that anyone accused of a crime is assumed to be innocent in court until proven otherwise. The person on trial can only be detained with sufficient and reliable evidence. Without enough proof, the accused is proclaimed not guilty. Put your hands where I can see them. Hands behind your head. You have been arrested.
Under criminal law, the goal is to dispose of a crime, giving the defendant due process and adequate opportunity for the victim to be heard. You have a prosecutor, you have a defense attorney, you'll have a jury. And their goal is to find out whether or not the prosecution can meet the elements of a crime.
Due process without a fair trial is considered unconstitutional and un-American. Before a suspect is put on trial, their Miranda rights are read to them, which state the accused has the right to remain silent.
I have had an encounter of a Fifth Amendment violation in my casework. I'm currently working on a case where the client did not receive his Miranda rights, the right to remain silent, right to an attorney. He wasn't told his rights prior to being interrogated by a police officer.
The appellate law practice is a trial that isn't always the end of the case. One or both parties may want to appeal part or all the trial verdict. In addition, they may want to appeal certain aspects of the lower court proceedings that they believe may have led the jury or the courts to make the wrong decision so that it can be viewed.
I call upon the first witness to the stand.
I think it's unique in that it gives everyone the opportunity to be heard, and it gives everyone a pause, because you have to take a minute. When someone is accused of doing something, I feel like if you don't give them the opportunity to present whatever evidence that they have, or to give their side of the story, you just can't have the democracy that the country is.
Because justice, in fact, is not inevitable. If you want justice, you have to fight for it. Fight for justice wherever you stand, in the courtroom.
America is unique in the sense that we're one of the few countries that enforce the presumption of innocence. In 2016, 171 people were found to be falsely accused, and after only a year, that number has decreased down to 139. Although not ideal, it shows that the error rate is fairly low in the United States. America still isn't satisfied with the low error rate and continues to aim for a better tomorrow, while some countries aren't so lucky. I call upon the next witness to the stand.
Queríamos derrocar al régimen de Fidel Castro y por eso me arrestaron. Cogieron a uno y echó para adelante toda la causa esa y caímos como 20,000. No fue justo porque ellos te echaban años como si fuera un camello.
Although the U.S. has a more advanced court system than countries like Cuba, China, and North Korea, there's still some room for improvement. There lies hidden biases that can affect the outcome of the accused. I call upon the next witness to the stand.
Due process, a lot of times, the police have to hold themselves accountable. When it's a police officer and a person, you have to expect the officer to really hold themselves to these high standards, because if not, it's their word versus your word.
Although America aims to be as just as possible, there still lies hidden biases which make the court system less than perfect. Bias varies from person to person and area to area. In a courtroom, everyone has their own implicit biases. Officials try to the best of their abilities to choose people for the jury that are as unbiased as possible. However, there is always some form of bias. I call upon the next witness to the stand.
We're all born kind of with these implicit biases. I feel like they just grow over time, and there is implicit bias, and there's I think if there's more training about implicit bias and how even though you think you're the most fair and that you're being that you're delivering the due process evenly across the board.
Plea bargains are also a large part of the court system. They allow for the convicted to have a lower sentence. However, they must confess to the crimes they were charged with even if they didn't commit the crime. call upon the next witness to the stand.
Well, I think plea bargains shorten or help move cases through the judicial system because, you save a lot of time.
People who aren't able to afford a good lawyer or have evidence piled against them that was taken out of context won't be able to come out of the trial without being found guilty, which ultimately pressures them to take a plea bargain. Although not perfect, America attempts to improve itself while providing opportunities for everyone in a unique way. The presumption of innocence makes us who we are as Americans. It provides more safety than most other countries do for their citizens. It allows for people to feel secure as long as they don't break the law. And although it can include prejudices with those involved, the rate of false convictions is relatively low.
The accused is found to be not guilty.